Thanks for clicking on this video. Wanted to just have a short chat with you about eBay, motivation, some of the changes, and maybe to give you a little different perspective, especially for those of you who may be considering leaving the platform. So without any further ado, let's go. So I get a lot of feedback in the videos that I do, and thank you for leaving your comments down below. And please, if you have any comments to this video, please leave them down below. And while you're at it, if you like the video, please smash that like button. Motivation is really hard, and especially when you're dealing with a lot of changes. Changes are always hard. And one thing I learned in the last business I was in a corporation in the corporate world for 26 years, and 10 of it in management. And I can tell you that if you're not adapting to change, you're going to get eaten up, and it's going to just drive you crazy. And there's not a whole lot that's different about eBay. eBay, if you aren't willing to, and this really other platforms as well, if you're not willing to roll with the punches and play by the rules of their game, then it's going to eat you up, and it's going to really be demotivating. And I get a lot of messages from people who are contemplating with this newest upcoming managed payments change that's coming up. A lot of you are thinking about stopping and quitting, going on to a different platform. And I'm here to sort of tell you, don't give up. Okay. Yes, it's horrible in my opinion what eBay does. They're not looking out for their sellers. My only hope is that soon they will see that the changes that they're making are hurting the average seller, and they will, especially with the new CEO that they have. I believe they have an interim CEO. I don't know the man's name, but you would think that they would, instead of rolling out a $25, $50 coupon, they would look at the issues at hand and make the changes. I'm optimistic in that regard. So, and I think a lot of it is going to be driven by your feedback. If you stay silent on a lot of these things that's causing you to want to leave the platform, then they'll never know why you're leaving the platform. They'll have an idea, but if you voice your concern, we come together as a community and let them know that taking 2.1% away from a cancellation or a refund for the payment fee is not acceptable, which is why I believe PayPal put off doing that to the sellers. So why are you doing it, eBay? And so if we all come together and ask that difficult question, it's not enough for me to put out a video on it. It's not enough for a couple other influencers out there to put a video on it. This has to be something that all of us have to come together and voice our concerns on eBay for Business. There's the eBay forums that I believe they have every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, I believe it's Pacific time. These are things that we have to come together and voice our concerns. But leaving the platform, unless this is just a part-time thing for you, if this is not a full-time thing, maybe it's taken a lot of the enjoyment out of, and it's just not worth the hassle for a part-time thing. I get it. But for those of you like me who are full-time, this is my livelihood, and for many of you, this is your livelihood. And I don't see a lot of profitable alternatives out there. Amazon's, unless you have product that you can sell where you don't have to be gated, that's not going to be a viable option. I could tell you Mercari, at least the products I sell don't sell for nearly as much as I can sell on eBay. So I guess what I'm saying is, does the idea of 2.1% in processing fees every few times a month because we have people that just can't make up their mind, or eBay's implementing a process where they show our buyers our competitors' items, and then we get a request for a cancellation. Yeah, that sucks. It sucks. Like, for instance, today I received my first negative feedback. The buyer claimed that a brand new item wasn't as described, and I told them to go ahead and start a return. I'll be glad to take the return. I take free 30-day returns. And they stated that they wouldn't do that. And I almost sensed that they were trying to get some type of a cash payment. They wanted some of their money back type of thing. And it was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. So I'm doing this whole Google Translate thing to try to talk back and forth with the customer. And before I get a reply back, I look back and I get a negative feedback. So I call eBay and I said, I offered them a return. I did everything. I even offered to help them navigate to making this thing work. And short of going down there and mailing and opening the return myself, I didn't think that there's anything more I can do. And I told the rep, there's no justification for this negative. In fact, the negative was in Spanish, and they weren't honest in the feedback as compared to the message that they had sent me to the problem. They over-exaggerated the problem in their feedback, so it wasn't accurate. And the rep was like, well, sorry, there's not anything we can do for you. And I even had them show me the policy, and she kind of showed me the top-rated seller protection policy, but it didn't really cover my particular situation. Just basically stated if they had opened a return, they would cover me. And so, I can't open the return for the customer, and there's a definite language barrier, even though I was using Google Translate. So my first negative feedback, I'm just going to have to write it off. I went online, disputed the negative feedback as well, but I'm really not that optimistic that it will be resolved. So, and that's demoralizing, and when you get that return, when that customer sends that return to you, that maybe they swap the item out, right? Or you get a return and they state there's a problem with the item, and you get it and there's nothing wrong. So, you're out the shipping both ways, because you have to give them their money back because they opened an item not as described. That's demoralizing, and it happens way too often. But it goes along with that saying, it's part of doing business. You have to kind of write it off of the cost of doing business. It doesn't make it feel any better, but certainly for those of us who rely on this platform and rely on this as a way of doing business, this still is a lot better than doing a 9-to-5. If you think about minimum wage as being $15 an hour, you can find things to sell all day long, and your store is going to make more than $15 an hour. Certainly in the 26 years that I worked in the corporate world, I made a lot more than that. I made upwards of about $75,000, $80,000 in a year. But I can tell you that what I'm making is a lot more in line with that than it is a minimum wage job. I couldn't think about answering to somebody, working a set schedule, having to ask for days off. In this business, you have that freedom. And I think that it's sort of short-sighted to say, we're going to leave eBay. And I get it. I understand why you feel that way. I feel that way all the time. But I understand that this is eBay's game, and it's their rules. We have to play by those rules. So I'm going to hold every rep accountable when they give me an answer. I'm going to make them show me where that rule is, so that we're all playing by the same rules. There's many reps out there that don't follow or don't even know eBay's policy, and we have to hold them into account. And again, that's where our feedback comes in. This platform will only improve for the sellers if collectively we come together and voice our disdain for how we are being treated. And again, I've told this to many reps before, it's very easy. You look at a seller, you look at their interactions. How many negative feedbacks do they have? How many complaints have they received from buyers? Look at those metrics. You know, are they constantly late in shipping items? Are they, you know, are they succeeding as a seller on your platform? So if something offhand comes up, before you side with that buyer, take a look at those metrics and evaluate what type of seller you're dealing with. Don't just put us all together under the same, you know, classification when you're making your decision, because that in itself isn't fair. And I know it's subjective, but if you have people working in a specialty department, say as defects or things of that nature, or escalations at eBay, they should be trained to be able to discern a good seller from one that is sort of questionable. And if they did that before they made their blanket decision to mostly side with the buyer, I think that would be a very good start. So what do you think? I just wanted to make a quick video on this subject. Please, guys, really consider staying with the platform. You know, it can only get better, but it's going to take all of us together to unite and make this platform better for us sellers. And so that's pretty much what I have to say on that. Like I said, hit the like button if you enjoyed the content of this video, and definitely please consider subscribing, because I'm going to constantly give you updates when I get them, and just all eBay e-commerce related talk, and it's designed to help all the sellers out there. If I can help one person, I think this video was worth it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, and again, thank you for taking the time to watch my video, and we'll see you next time.